The genesis of financial markets is born out of sale and purchase. Yet the manner which transactions happen over the counter has hardly changed through the years. Project Guardian explores how blockchain technology can potentially revolutionize the process. To tap on the benefits of blockchain and smart contract, an open interoperable network was conceptualized to allow assets such as cash or securities in traditional forms to be tokenized. As part of the asset tokenization process, minted tokens are whitelisted and then held within their respective digital asset wallets. Verifiable credentials, or VCs, are issued by the respective trust anchors and held in the wallets of the liquidity provider, as well as those of traders, to authorize the use of funds held in respective digital asset wallets. In contrast against DeFi protocols in crypto space where users are anonymous, VCs are required for any user to transact against the institutional-grade DeFi protocol to reinforce KYC and AML processes. Using tokenized assets, authorized liquidity providers can deposit assets into the pool based on the live price feed and the pool price. Authorized traders can key in the intended trade and get indicative pricing from the automated market maker. If the price is acceptable and within the market price threshold validation, the trader can proceed to enter trades against the pool. Atomic trading and settlement of tokenized assets enables greater efficiencies and transparency, as well as lower settlement risk. As one of the first of its kind to be developed on public blockchain, we continue to explore DeFi for traditional financial markets. In collaboration with regulators and industry ecosystem partners, and expand the possibilities the digital asset ecosystem can deliver to the world.
Stellar had an update, and as you can see here, it talks about institutional interoperability powered by Axelar. Now, I know a lot of you guys watch other shows and so on, and there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage that. One of the things that was recently shared anywhere from, I think, 2 weeks ago on an update with Ripple, and even dating back maybe 2 months ago. But the last update I saw was 2 weeks ago. So Axelar and Ripple is definitely there, but what about Axelar and Stellar? When we talk about things complementing each other, that's one thing. But it's another thing to see that, yeah, you want to know something, they are kind of competing, and here's how. So let's jump over to this for a bit and full screen it. This is today's update, and it mentions institutional interoperability powered by Axelar. When we go to this, you'll see a thread about this, and Axelar even references the Deutsche Bank. What do they get into specifically in this thread? Well, guys, I'm telling you flat out, even Brother Rue was like, hey, do you have that video about all that stuff about 50% of all real-world assets going through Stellar? Yeah. But when you see this and see Stellar linking you to Axelar, you can kind of connect the dots and understand the bigger picture. So Deutsche Bank announced today, this morning in fact, the participation in MAS. And as we know, we follow this quite a bit. Lots of different content creators, a lot of you guys even on X retweeting this. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Central Bank of Singapore. Interesting how they're citing them. But more in particular, Project Guardian, guys, testing compliant asset tokenization applications. Institutions participating in Guardian have picked who? Axelar for interoperability 2 years in a row. Why so? Well, it's because of RWAs, real world assets, and being tokenized. I'm going to share just a little bit more about this. This is big. So they state that institutions rely on a diverse set of blockchain solutions even as they seek connections to various public blockchains. Without blockchain interoperability on an open stack, fragmentation will undo the promise of liquidity, plus access that should come with RWAs. With Axelar, they are a blockchain that connects blockchains. Doesn't that sound familiar? The only open interoperable solution delivering customization across stack with no vendor lockup in and full monitoring plus transparency end-to-end cross-chain paths. They have a second phase that they're doing. This was reported 8 hours ago. It is with the Deutsche Bank, and it's called the DAMA project, focusing on interoperability with tech collaboration from Memento Blockchain and Interop Labs. There's more to it about this, but what I wanted to get into was what you're going to see here. Jumping into the next thing, back to this main subject at hand, I want to take you guys over to the response from the Deutsche Bank, and here it is. You will see here that Deutsche Bank did join Project Guardian. How so? It's to basically explore asset tokenization applications. Now, I'm not going to get into all of this, but remember how we talked about, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS? Well, when you get more into this, it talks about how Project Guardian is a multi-year project involving global policymakers, and you better believe some of the biggest ones out there. United Kingdom, the FCA, their FCA, excuse me, Switzerland's FINMA, and even Japan's FSA. As we know, Genki Oda is part of that. So there's other financial services industry representatives that are part of the mix. But let's get back to the topic of assets and wealth management and the work stream. They talk about how the bank will test an open architecture, interoperable blockchain platform for service tokenized and digital funds. This is everything that Larry Fink was talking about just a couple months ago. Do we not see or understand how it's all coming together? This will propose protocol standards and identify best practices to contribute to the industry progress, you guys. Here's this guy. His name is Anand Rajarjan, if I pronounce that right. He's the head of security services for Asia, Pacific, and the Middle East. He's the global head of sales. Look at this quote. We are committed to being a leader in the driving development of adoption of digital assets in Singapore, Asia Pacific. But most importantly, more about Project Guardian. It's going to bolster their efforts, shape the new frontier of asset servicing, and strongly position them to contribute to industry progress. Not only anticipate what the clients are going to do, but meet or exceed their expectations. So for me, we already seen the whole thing about, Bitcoin, BTC, doing its whole thing with ETS. Now you're starting to see this. Is this the key to mass adoption? I don't have the exact answers on that, but you can kind of have an idea of how this all comes together. Here's this other part. It says that through Project Guardian, their work on relevant standardization areas, they hope to elevate the sound and tangible benefits of technology collaboration and can bring clients to the industry. What about institutional clients to the industry, right? So they talk about how there was this thing called Memento Blockchain. If you weren't aware of that, it's a decentralized finance and hyperchain zero knowledge specialist. My God. With whom it previously executed the proof of concept DAMA 1 in 2023. But most importantly is how you see Axelar come to the forefront, right? Because they are joining the bank efforts. That's how they're part of the whole mix. So what I want to show you now is not so much about this, but I want to jump now into, for example, the bigger picture of things. Because when I got more into this, I said to myself, there's got to be more about Soroban and Axelar. And the answer is yes. There was a workshop 6 months ago talking about all this. And I want to take you here. As you can see, Soroban, Axelar, how to deliver secure cross-chain communication for what? Web 3. Now, as I jumped into it, you will literally hear this gentleman, who is Ed Medvedev, who is the head of engineering at Axelar, specifically mention Soroban. Why is that a big deal? I'm going to show you why it's a big deal, because as you can see here, the world has gone interchain. The beginning, 2009 to 2017, new platforms emerged in 2017, 2022. We know that. And for example, 2023 moving forward to now and the future. Look at all the big players here, guys. BTC, Avalanche, Polkadot. You have Aave, you have Compound, you have Solana, you have Cosmos. And you see here, even on the DEX platforms like SushiSwap, Uniswap, and so on, at every single turn of the table, you see Axelar part of it. And of course, Algorand, Ripple, Polygon. I was just talking about Filecoin. They're part of the mix. Cardano, Cello. So what is this? Is this a big deal? I think it really, really is. Listen to this. We're going to play this. It's going to blow you away when you hear some of the terminology used. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
Completely new L1s with new languages, with new stacks, new principles coming up. Soroban is one of them, and I've tried building on it, and it's absolutely fantastic. But we run the same risk of, Soroban becoming just a disconnected part of this industry instead of being part of a whole, which is what we're trying to fix. So what we're trying to do at Axelar is basically let you build anywhere you want and maybe even take advantage of some of the properties that specific chains have, but then also at the same time be where the users are and be able to access the rest of the ecosystem just as easily as you would be able to access any data or contracts available on your own chain. So at this point, Axelar supports 49 chains and counting. Every time I give this demo, I have to check in with the team and ask if it's a new number. It was less when I was preparing the first draft of this. It's 49 now. It's probably going to be a few more the next time I talk about this. So we are going pretty strong. And so far, we processed billions in dollars of cross-chain volume just by token transfers alone. Axelar is very simple to use, and I will show you how simple in a minute, because we have several different ways of actually accessing cross-chain, and that takes the shape of both sending and receiving tokens across chains, and also sending and receiving messages. Messages is what we spend a lot of time on because this is what actually enables cross-chain communication. Token transfer.
Messages being sent. Even with ISO 222, I know I'm interrupting right there, but I need to. Because you know what? A lot of times we just let things just go right past our head. So, yes, ISO 222, could you imagine with what he just mentioned and seeing all these big players, right? Even on the retail and institutional side of things, the bigger picture is ISO 222. You literally heard it from him without him even saying it. To be able to send those messages and the bank connection, the Deutsche Bank connection, Project Guardian. Why would Project Guardian want to get involved with something like this, if there wasn't something going on for the bigger picture? When we talked about how, Tomer Weller says that 50% of all real-world assets pass through what? Stellar. And then you see this, and then we hear about the mandate for November 2025. My God, all the people who haven't done research about Stellar saying, oh, it doesn't do anything. It just stays at 9 or 10 cents. It hasn't moved much. You're not understanding the bigger picture at all, and God help these people because they're going to have some regrets in the future. The writing is literally on the wall. Let's play a little bit more about this. This is good stuff. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. Smash a like if you choose to do so. I know you guys are busting my chops earlier, and it's okay. I love you guys. You rock. Here we go.
Transfers across chains are not new, right? Bridges exist, wrapped tokens exist. It's a very saturated field. Lots of bridges. Some of them are actually very good. Not going to endorse any specific ones, but I mean, everyone in this room can probably name a few. Messages are a much more interesting problem because they also enable a lot more use cases. And if you've been here right before lunch, we were talking about, interchain. We were talking about DAOs. We were talking about governance. And one specific use case that Axelar actually enables, and we announced this a while back, is interchain governance. So if your dApp exists on several different chains, and you have decentralized governance for it, you need the governance vote on your main chain to affect your app's behavior across every chain you support. And one of the apps that actually works with us to make it happen is Uniswap. There is a Uniswap contract on probably a dozen chains at this point, and they all have, decentralized governance. And they need those decisions to be replicated on every chain the contract is deployed on. And they need voting to actually work not on every chain independently, but everywhere at once. This is only one specific example of what we can enable. But generally, sending any kind of arbitrary data across chains is the first step towards enabling this world where we don't really care what chain we're on, because it's just as easy to access contracts on a different chain as it is to access a contract on your own.
Wow. Wow. I mean, we're going to play a little bit more about this, but I mean, he's just like, yeah, it's pretty simple. We can do this. But at first he mentions Stellar with Soroban, and it talks about, well, we need to fix this. And notice that there was a delay in regards to Soroban, so, as a result, they're fixing it. And then now he's going to get into the whole thing of, some token examples. So let's go ahead and play that as well. We're going to play about maybe 5-6 more minutes about this, and then we're getting into some of the other things in regards to the nitty-gritty. I'm telling you flat out, why would Stellar, guys, in particular, go out of the way only a few hours ago and mention Axelar? Because there's something there. That's why. Ripple has already got this done a few months ago, and kudos to them. But now, with Soroban, you have that smart contract mix part of the whole shebang. Yeah. Let's play a little bit more. Here we go.
And I will get to messages in a bit. And the first one is deposit addresses. I will show you how it works live right after this. But essentially, Axelar SDK can help you create a deposit address on a source chain that has your destination chain, destination address, and your asset already built in. So as soon as somebody sends tokens to this address that we create, Axelar picks it up and shoots it over to a different chain that you selected. The user doesn't actually have to do anything. It's pre-baked into the address itself. We store it on the network, and we process transfers completely transparently to the end user. So the easiest way to show you how it works is to open kind of our reference bridge called Satellite. Satellite.
Just real quick, what does that remind you of what we just saw earlier, right? Even with the example with source swap. Again, it ain't Greek. You got to have something to go with. Here's another example. Let's play this as well.
Satellite works with deposit addresses. And let's say that I want to transfer a bunch of a USDC from Avalanche to Base. Let's take a random Base address from Basecamp. Let's go. Say we want to send 10 USDC. We want to send 10 USDC to Base to this contract address. And we generate a deposit address for it. It's going to take a little bit. And it's done. So now if you send a USDC to this specific address on Avalanche, it's going to be almost immediately picked up by Axelar and automatically transferred to Base. And you can share this address with your users. You can send funds to this address from a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange. You don't even need the wallet for this to actually work. It works for you, and all the parameters of the transfer are pre-baked. Very easy to use, very intuitive, takes less than a minute to set up. as you just saw. Right?
Okay. He's got a ton more. If you want to watch the whole thing in its entirety, I have decided to drop it into the comments on the live show for the nerds. So there it basically is. And, you know, asset tokenization, real world assets, and so on. The ease, the seamlessness, the whole thing coming together. But more in particular, like Soroban being part of the mix. I want to jump into this next part. I'm going to give you another example. This is good stuff. I want to show you guys why this is such a big deal. So I mentioned, for example, Ripple XRP being part of this whole mix. But most importantly is understanding why Stellar, or why Axelar even chooses Stellar and vice versa. So let's pull this up as well. Here's a publication not that long ago. And like I mentioned, even when we do quant coverage, if you really want to check out the institutional side of things, you got to go to Indeed, all right? So we're going to full screen this. This, of course, is just going to show you reference in regards to Ripple, which is great. I love Ripple XRP. But this guy, Johnny Fry, Clearbank Group, Head Digital Asset Strategy. He is Crypto AM Influencer of the Year 2022, editor of Digital Bytes Weekly Analysis of Blockchain and Digital. He's an expert global trends in digitization. He's a chairman of GemCap UK. If you get further down in here, he mentions, not that long ago, right, that Ripple, I don't know if this was 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, but whatever the case be, it was not that long ago. He says Ripple forged a strategic partnership with Axelar Foundation to drive interoperability and real-world asset tokenization on the XRP ledger. Okay. What about the one that we got, confirmation from Tomer Weller of the Stellar Development Foundation, literally saying, and you guys can watch the video if you choose to do so, it's in the video section. He states that 50% of all real-world assets go on Stellar. So it's proven itself that, you have the big industry players that work with other ones, not just Stellar, but Ripple, Avalanche, some of these other ones that you saw in that video. But the common thing is recognizing that Axelar is no joke. No joke at all. Because of enhanced interoperability. And most important, to interact, like it says right here, with smart contracts across 55 plus blockchains. So Stellar now is part of that mix. Kind of like what you saw with, that gentleman, what's his name? Medvedev, I can't pronounce his name. Ed Medvedev, excuse me. And how he said that it's literally like expanding and it's still counting. Why? Boom. Back to this, guys. Tokenization, real world assets, and basically having the whole thing of unlocking new opportunities for developers and financial services. Ripple understood this is a big opportunity for them. But now for Stellar, so this further solidifies why I don't want to be a maxi on just XRP, and I don't want to just be a maxi on XLM. I want to see the ones that are involved with like some of these guys like Axelar. How about this, for example? Cross-chain security. Remember how we talked about SourceSwap has to prove themselves at this point because it's new. Axelar's cross-chain security approach, based on permissionless proof-of-stake validation, ensures secure transaction across interconnected blockchains. Might as well add Stellar to the mix, right? And it shows, of course, the whole thing of the growth of XRP, and kudos to XRP. Getting into a tad bit more about this, there was a Medium article that was published. I'll also drop this into the live chat for you guys that are watching on the live show that want to basically nerd it out. Here you go. And for you guys that are watching on the recorded, you can go to medium.com/@KOT232007. It's one of his newest, articles. Look at what it says. Axelar provides on-chain transactions. Axelar requests timeout, requests return error code, start asset return. You can see how all this is going to implement what? ISO 222. That's why the guy put so much emphasis on messaging. Why? Well, the protocol allows applications to use cross-chain functionality, and more of pounding at home of what you heard, Medvedev talk about. It's the keys in the application and how they're displayed to the user and shared by Axelar validators. Look at this. Pound it home just that much more. Axelar updates the cross-chain catalog, records the deposit of assets by the user in the chain, but only when the deposit is confirmed. Interesting. This last part, the conclusion. Axelar network is used in the internet layer. That sounds bullish. Providing routing protocols and application layers. The CGP and CTP protocols in the Axelar network transmit and record arbitrary state information across blockchains. These are high-level protocols. I know we covered BSV, for example, IPv6, talking about entering into Web3. This is another one, part of what? The innovative processes and protocols of just that, guys, Web3. I'm going to show you guys some proof. Some people say, well, you heard it from that guy, Mr. Medvedev. That should be enough, right? There's more. Like Billy Mays back in the day. Wait, there's more. Is there anything recent to support the hypothesis of Axelar is doing it now? Or they're doing it yesterday? Or they're still doing it? Like LL Cool J. Doing it, and doing it well. Well, boom. Check this out. The answer is yes. If you go to github.com/Axelar network, this shows up. And then, of course, the next slash is Axelar-CGP-Soroban. I will also drop this into the comments on the live for all the nerds. Boom, there you go. Let's full screen this. As you can see, not that long ago, Axelar cross-chain gateway protocol for Soroban platform. Huh. Interesting. You see here how some coder is writing some stuff. Packages /Axelar-Soroban-STD. No, that's not what you're thinking. Not that, blankety blank disease. But look what it says 2 months ago in regards to what? Yeah, gas service. And remember how this gentleman was talking about some of these things? So I'm thinking to myself, well, ERC20, world's most popular smart contract. And of course, when we talked about last video, roughly, Stellar going for the jugular of Ethereum, going for the throat, going for the neck, going for that freaking neck, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to the legend. Yes, that's right. Dustin the legend. He might not be here. You guys see him in the, in the comments once in a while. But it's all about going for straight for the neck. Right in the throat, right in the neck. They're going to do it. How are they really, truly going to do it? Stellar, Soroban, the whole bigger picture. Well, you have to keep in mind that basically, from what I gathered, it's more to it than just what we just talked about. While it's cool to, see that currently speaking, blockchains operate as isolated systems, and we want to get away from that, as Gilbert Verdi has mentioned, not have, these silos or walled gardens, but assets and data, of course, are locked within their own ecosystems. Axelar's cross-chain communication allows applications built on different blockchains to interact, of course, with each other. That sounds very similar to what Quant's doing. This fosters innovation, broader adoption of blockchain tech. But most importantly, remember that little example I gave you about gas fees and so on? Well, when I think of gas, you think of, for example, like, oh, okay, well, Ethereum and maybe using platforms like Uniswap, right? This in itself, with Axelar, unlocks new DeFi applications. For example, imagine seamlessly swapping tokens between Ethereum and Stellar for better rates. Tim Shea used to talk about this all the time. I think Tim Shea even still talks about that. Shout out to our brother Tim Shea, who sprays from far away, the mayor of crypto, the crypto commissioner, right? Because he's always talking about go to your Lobster wallet. You know, you want to buy, for example, SHX. Why are you paying for it in ETH? Right, exactly. Send Lumens, XLM, and swap that sucker for, you know, your SHX. Significantly lower fees. Don't have to sell it. You know about it, right? But you better believe that by swapping tokens between Ethereum and Stellar for better rates, using Stellar Lumens for cross-chain payments with DeFi applications will be game changer. But most importantly, by having smart contracts. As we know, from 2021 to present, what is one of the top ones that competed with Ethereum for smart contracts? Solana, right? And the value has been crazy. You know, we saw it go all the way down to, you know, under $10 when the FTX fiasco happened and so on. But again, it's something that could rival Ethereum through smart contracts because you have more speed. And if anything, you know, saving people a lot of money by not having huge gas fees. Enter in Soroban in the mix and having this whole thing of Axelar part of it to get the job done. That is huge. That is profound. Just because you don't see price movement now, you are going to look at it as a blessing in disguise for the future. How about this for a second? Because we are talking about DeFi applications. So cross-chain communication, enabling wider range of DeFi apps, connecting to various blockchains. Back to the example of, boom, you got, you know, Axelar with Stacks, and Stacks enabling even old BTC with the layer 2, whether it is through the Nakamoto upgrade or some of these other things. Adding more chains, right? But when we talk about Stellar, we want to keep it on its own layer. We don't want to outsource it. We don't want to go to other layers and go to third parties. But we want to work with the ones that are currently getting the job done, for example, by increasing a user base. And basically also creating a thing of increased liquidity. By allowing applications to leverage assets and functionalities across chains, Stellar in itself can potentially reach a much larger user base. And you better believe it's going to lead to more liquidity or greater liquidity for Stellar assets, and most in particular, real-world assets. So with everything that was said, we talked about SourceSwap. We talked about, for example, Axelar. What does it mean specifically for Stellar and also Soroban when we talk about Axelar? Well, Soroban plus Axelar equals a huge, powerful combination. How so? Soroban smart contracts, as we know, developers can build complex applications on Stellar, but combining with Axelar's cross-chain communication enables developers specifically to create true interoperability, or applications, I should say. They can interact with, of course, other blockchains, just like that example you saw with Stacks, STX. It's going to expand Stellar's use case, that's a win. Cross-chain communication opens the doors beyond, of course, Stellar's core function of just the Lumen, and also shows that there's going to be a sense of super fast transactions and keeping it cheap. As we know, when it comes to Stellar, you can move 10 million USDC for 0.5001. Nobody comes close to that. It allows Stellar to compete in areas like DeFi, gaming even, and other blockchain apps that require, of course, more interaction with other ecosystems. What about the potential, guys, hear me out on this, for Stellar to be a hub? Stellar's fast transaction times, low fees combined with Soroban smart contracts, you better believe, combined with Axelar's interoperability, is going to position Stellar as a central hub. Yeah, you heard me right, a central hub for cross-chain communication. And last but not least, this cross-chain communication does in fact pave the way for Stellar moving forward to become, you better believe it, a major player in the evolving world of interoperable blockchains. Just because you don't see the price movement, it's kind of like back to what Brad Garlinghouse recently mentioned. You know, he talked about, for example, 5 years before mass adoption and so on. Some people don't want to hear that. But you want to know something? I used to be a loan officer years ago from 2005 to 2007. And one thing I learned that always works well is that if you're going to give somebody an amount in closing costs, you better damn well tell them it's going to be a lot more. Because when it comes to the day of closing costs, when you can tell them it was for a lot less, and if anything, you close in under 30 days, maybe close in like 21, people like to see the idea that they are going to get back more, and if anything, in a quicker amount of time. 5 years? Is it really 5 years? Could be. But want to know something? He is right. It needs to be a sense of mass adoption. And the way I look at it is, even if everything got delayed, which nobody wants to hear about that, I'll be glad that I invested into these things before they took off. So I'm not going to complain about the 10 cents on the short term, because I understand that if you're going to move all this money, whether it's retail or institutions and so on, it has to be worth a lot of money. Some of you guys ask what cold storage solution I use. I use this, and it is the Decent wallet. All right. I also, of course, have a ledger like this. All right. You can get a discount basically from going into the affiliate link, which is in all the live video descriptions and recorded and so on. And for the yahoos that are out there, they're like, this is just a shield. And, we'll fix point this out. And it's a great point. Were you aware that you don't necessarily get a discount link just going straight to the site? No, you actually have to go through a platform like this. So how cool is that? I don't think anybody's complaining about that. But anyway, use the link, get a discount. There's another one here. If you're the type of person you want to get one for you and your significant other, you can get 2 of them. They actually have another promotion, which is this, and I think this is cool. You can get an all-in-one card wallet plus backup card package. Interesting. I thought that was cool. And again, one of the main key things I like about the Decent wallet is not having to do the red tape of jumping through all the hoops for XDC and the custom folder. I mean, Edward Vincent can vouch on that. Some of you guys can too as well in regards to ledger. That was a pain in the butt. You don't have that problem. You literally open up your phone, it's on your app, track everything that's going on, right? And saying goes, not your keys, not your crypto. You know the drill. Check it all out though if you wish to do so. It is truly the cold storage solution that I use. For the most part, there's still some on ledger that, I kind of split it up on it and so on. So it is what it is. But if I have preference over one, I'm going with this one. A lot easier to use and so on. And some people, even to this day, still ask me which one to use. Hey guys, I just want to point out something real quick in regards to Uphold with you guys. A lot of you guys are familiar with Uphold or heard about it. But if you're brand new to all this and don't have an account, basically, there's some benefits. It benefits me. It benefits you. This is a win-win. But one thing I want to point out to really pound it home with Uphold is, for example, XDC. As we know, with XDC, a lot of us have to jump through the hoops of like KuCoin, use a VPN to kind of get around things. This is American-based exchange with Uphold. You don't have to do that. You can get your XDC here, and yeah, not having to deal with that is a great thing. You could also get XRP here. Again, American-based exchange. There's a refer and earn. Bottom line is, if you deposit $100, I get 20, you get 20. It's a win-win for both of us. And of course, that's in BTC, but again, you can swap that to any of these particular altcoins. Another benefit of Uphold is, unlike Coinbase, they're not going to freeze your assets at the height of a bull run. And that's a really, really good thing, right? Nobody wants that. So check it out. Links are in the description if you would like to take advantage of the 20. And yeah, a win for both of us. How cool is that? Links in the description, both on the live and on the recorded. Thanks, guys. Over and out.